Hey there folks, welcome into the Truck King YouTube channel. Today we're going to have a closer look at this, the 2025 Subaru Ascent. Now for 2025, Subaru has added more safety features, but I think the big question has to be, is this the best three-row crossover on the market? Let's dive into it and find out. Let's start with a walk around here, folks. So, powering the Subaru Ascent is a 2.4-liter boxer 4-cylinder turbocharged. Right here, it makes 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque, and that power is sent through a CVT. So, the Ascent you're looking at right here in Canada is known as the Subaru Ascent Sport. In the States, this would be the Bronze Edition. For obvious reasons, you're getting the bronze wheels, and on the interior, you're getting those nice bronze accents. Now, overall styling-wise for 2025, the Ascent hasn't really changed, but I'm still curious. Why don't you drop in the comments now and let me know, what do you just think about the way this thing looks? Let's take a look at the passenger space right now, and I like to start with the baby seat situation. So we have the 7-seat model here today, which means we get captain's chairs here in the second row. They both have lower latch and top tethers. And then back there in the third row, there's only one lower latch position over here on the driver's side, but there are 3 top tethers. And one other thing I want to point out for all the folks out there using baby seats, we recently tested the Volkswagen Atlas. Now in the Atlas, when you move the seat forward, the back doesn't have to actually come down, whereas here on the Subaru, it does. So I could not keep a baby seat that was installed here in this position without, taking something off or moving it all together. So that actually is a little bit annoying. That means that kids going back to the third row are going to be coming through and going through the middle, which is never as ideal. So I don't love the way these seats move forward and get out of the way without me having to move my baby seats. But right now, let me climb in. So this is just over 38 inches of second row leg room, and it's quite a bit. I stand at 6'2". I have enough knee room. My knees aren't too tall up or anything like that. Headroom, we do have the massive panoramic sunroof. It leaves a little bit to be desired. I'm kind of up into the sunroof space. If I move over a bit, I am whacking right there. So I could use a little bit more headroom, but it is just enough. And then I do have to point out that this seat slides many inches, so you really can't adjust it for how you want it. And then if you want to give those third row people more space, you can. For amenities, I do have a full HVAC control over here for the rear of the vehicle, USB-A and USB-C ports, a couple cup holders down there, and I also like to always point out too, built-in sunshades up here in the windows. These are incredibly important, especially for little kids in rear-facing car seats. So now let's jam into the third row and see how big it is. So we move this guy. And back we go. So this is just over 31 inches of leg room, and it's not enough for me. I mean, to be fair, this seat could be moved forward, so I could get more leg room, but the headroom is really quite bad. I don't have nearly enough headroom. Now, this third row, if I yank this strap up here, it does recline, so I could recline a bit. It still doesn't work. Anyone who is probably 6 foot, even a little bit shorter, you're gonna struggle in this third row with headroom. Definitely better reserved for children or smaller adults. Now, when it comes to amenities, I do have cup holders over here, got my own speaker, and then on the passenger side, there's a pair of USB ports as well. So there's a couple features back here, but headroom leaves something to be desired. Now though, why don't we go to the back and look at the cargo space? So when the third row is in use, and you can see it's a 60-40 split, when it's in use, there's only 17 cubic feet behind this third row. Not a ton of space. This is one of those vehicles where you very much have to choose, do I need to haul people or do I need to haul stuff? And if you have to haul both, well, it's, tight in the third row and not a lot of cargo. We can look at the features here. You are getting a bit of storage there underneath the floor, which is nice. A nice space for your shade there as well. And then some tools and other things. And then yes, if you do fold this down, you are going to get a lot more cargo space back here, but then you're not using your third row for people. I do like this kind of rubberized material they put on the backs of the seats here. But yeah, like I said, this is one of those vehicles you got to choose, people or stuff. And if you're doing both, well, it's not a lot of both. All right, folks, we're behind the wheel now. Let's go ahead and feel the power. And it's really quite good. It's not a crazy fast vehicle, but nobody expects this thing to be crazy quick. What it is adequately powered, more than enough power to merge for any everyday driving situation to make sure you're gonna feel confident. So I definitely do like the power. And then we can talk right off the bat about, symmetrical all-wheel drive. We've done some testing in recent weeks with other Subarus. We had a Forester and an Outback. It's been extremely cold and wintry the last few weeks. And I think the biggest advantage that symmetrical all-wheel drive has over the competitors is that it's always on. It doesn't need that moment of slip and then a react. It's more proactive than it is reactive. So I also do believe in it. Today we got dry roads, so I can't really test it. But overall, I do think there's something to Subaru's all-wheel drive system being just a little bit more confidence-inspiring than, stuff you're going to find at Honda or Toyota. Not a massive difference, but yeah, that sure-footedness right off the line is definitely a little bit better here in a Subaru. Now, I mentioned the Forester and the Outback, and I think it is important because having driven these three vehicles, back to back, really illuminates the fact that Subaru has really landed on a recipe that works for them, and they're sticking with it. Now, the Outback and the Forester are really similar inside. Because the Ascent here is just this much bigger, the interior doesn't feel the exact same, but the screen, the layout of the buttons and controls, all of that stuff, it's all identical to what you're gonna find in those other models. So this is sort of modern day Subaru. They're very much focused on find a strategy that works, find a layout that works, and then apply it across the range. And heck, they've even really done that with their powertrains. Essentially, every Subaru is powered by this 2.4 liter Boxer. The question is just whether or not you get a turbocharger or you don't get a turbocharger. But unlike other brands which are trying to proliferate their engine lineups and really add more and more options, Subaru is saying, no, what we have is good, it works for us, it's reliable, we know everything there is to know about that engine, so let's not mess with that and introduce new stuff. And as I brought up in my Forester review, and I talked about it a lot in that video, Subaru was just named the most reliable brand by Consumer Reports, knocking Toyota out of that spot. And this new Subaru strategy feels like Toyota's old strategy. Find out what works and then do not change it. Where, new modern Toyota, they've introduced new platforms and new engines across all sorts of lineups, and they've been having some issues. So yes, Subaru is definitely a boring feeling brand. I will say that, also having driven three of them back to back, they feel super similar. There's nothing exciting here. But when it comes to reliability, that tried and tested feeling, that is absolutely now here at Subaru because they just keep sticking with the same things that work year after year. From behind the wheel, there's one other feeling that jumps out to me, and it is a low center of gravity. And this vehicle, compared to some other in the segment, even the styling is a little bit more long and low than it is tall and boxy. And I mean, Subaru is still a brand that's really known for station wagons and having that kind of body style. And you're certainly not going to say the Ascent is a station wagon, but it trends more towards a station wagon than it does to a big boxy, I don't know, Suburban or something like that. And I'd say that's a good thing and a bad thing. On the positive side, like I just said, you really do feel it from behind the wheel, especially because you have the Boxer. That's another hallmark of a Boxer engine, is that it sits down low in the chassis, so you get that really low center of gravity planted feel. The downside, well, you guys already saw it. The headroom back there is not great. Second row was just enough. Third row was absolutely not enough for me, or frankly, anybody 6 foot or above, even approaching 6 feet, you're probably gonna be squeezed in back there. So unlike other brands which chose to keep the roof nice and tall in the back, Subaru doesn't do that. And that's a big deal. It's gonna inform your purchase, because if you're putting anybody other than children in your third row, yeah, you might shy away from the Subaru because of it. If you're only ever putting kids back there, you're probably all right. But in this segment, in my opinion, the third row is of the utmost importance. And here, yeah, it leaves some things to be desired. And some of the competitors, again, the Volkswagen Atlas I bring up because we just tested it. The Atlas has a really nice sized third row, and it has that higher roof line. So yes, if third row is your most important factor here, I'd say the Ascent isn't the best in the segment. A word on comfort. Up here in the front seat, and again, this is just really informed by the fact that I just drove an Outback and a Forester. This thing does feel really spacious. I feel like the cabin feels nice and airy. I got lots of shoulder room. And one of my personal favorite comfort features is the adjustable thigh bolster that they add to the seats down here. I got long legs. I'm a tall guy, so I love pulling that thing out and just feeling that support underneath your legs. And I think it's especially important for long road trips. It's nice to have that because your leg can get tired when it feels like it's kind of hanging there. So maybe a little thing for some folks, but yes, I really like those thigh bolsters. Now, the other area I have to bring up is safety, because Subaru, especially these days, it seems like safety is their #1 priority. And we do have the Subaru EyeSight system here. And for 2025, there's been more standard safety features packed into the Ascent. So right from the base level, you're getting more safety than you did before. And you know what? I said this in my last 2 Subaru videos. The system works really well. I haven't really had any issues with it, not seeing the lines or pulling me over the lines or anything like that. On the flip side, I feel like it's one of the most overbearing systems on the market. It really wants you to drive in its part of the lane, and if you turn on the lane keep assist, it's really yanking the wheel with quite a bit of torque to make sure it's driving the way you want it to drive. It also has an eye monitor, so it's now watching my eyes, and that's fine. I don't hate the idea of monitoring people and saying, hey buddy, pay attention, because we all know that distracted driving is a big deal these days. However, I feel like it's too sensitive. It's always telling me to keep my eyes on the road, and I swear they are on the road. Or if I even linger with my coffee cup for too long and can't see my eyes, it suddenly tells me to put my eyes on the road. So that's a minor thing. It's mostly just an annoyance. And quite frankly, I just turn those systems off. And it's nice that they still offer you the choice. So at least if you get annoyed by it, you don't like the way it drives or the way it watches you, well, you can just shut all that stuff off too. So good safety system, a little bit overbearing, but luckily you can just turn it off if you don't like it, like me. Now finally, we arrive at the price. So this Ascent Sport, which that's what it's called here in Canada, the one you see in this video has an MSRP just above $56,000, which feels like okay value, but value aside, that is exactly where it should be for this segment. Again, the Atlas that we recently tested on the channel was also $56,000, and the trims were comparable. So yes, it feels like that's just the price you're paying for these big 3-row crossovers these days, from 50, up to 60 grand on the high end. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the end of this video. And yes, I'm doing my outro in here from behind the wheel because it is currently minus 12 degrees Celsius outside, but with the wind chill, it's felt like minus 20 all day. So I'd rather not go back out there and freeze. But what can you say here about the Ascent? For many, many years, Subaru fans were clamoring for a vehicle with a third row, and now we have the Ascent. It's been on the market for a number of years now, and I think Subaru especially, they have an audience. There's certain people who really gravitate towards Subaru. They don't want to go outside of the brand, but if they need that third row, well, this is their option. So I think just with that in mind, the Ascent was a smart move for the brand. Within the segment, I think the all-wheel drive stands out. I think the weakest part of it is probably the space in the back, but outside of that, this is yet another solid, simple, boring, reliable vehicle from Subaru. But yeah, folks, that's it for this one. Please now drop into the comments, weigh in, let me know your thoughts on this Ascent and everything else that I said in this video. As always, while you're down below, don't forget to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, hit join, become a member of Truck King, and then come right back here to the channel to see what we're testing next.